Iran wasn't always an enemy of Israel or the United States. In fact, before 1979, Iran and Israel quietly cooperated. Iran was ruled by the Shah, a pro-Western leader backed by the U.S. Iran recognized Israel, shared intelligence with the CIA and Mossad, and even supplied oil to Israel. At that time, Iran was considered one of America's strongest allies in the Middle East. Everything changed in 1979 with the Islamic Revolution. The Shah was overthrown and replaced by Ayatollah Khomeini, who believed the United States was an imperial power manipulating the region, and that Israel was an illegitimate state imposed on Muslim lands. From that moment, opposing Israel and resisting American influence became core pillars of Iran's political and religious identity. This wasn't just policy anymore, it became ideology. Israel's concern with Iran is not about traditional armies or direct invasion. It's about Iran's long-term strategy. Iran avoids direct war and instead builds influence through proxy groups. Over decades, Iran has funded, armed, and trained groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza, and multiple militias in Syria and Iraq. These groups surround Israel geographically and can attack without Iran ever firing a missile itself. Hezbollah alone possesses over 100,000 rockets aimed at Israel. From Israel's perspective, this creates a constant, multi-front threat that could overwhelm the country in a major conflict. For the United States, Iran represents a different kind of challenge. Iran openly rejects U.S. dominance in the Middle East and works to push American forces and influence out of the region. Iran also threatens key U.S. interests, including Israel's security, Gulf allies, and global energy routes. The Strait of Hormuz, which Iran borders, carries roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply. Any instability there can shock the global economy. More importantly, Iran's survival despite sanctions shows that a country can resist U.S. pressure and still maintain regional influence. That example worries Washington. The nuclear issue is where everything becomes more dangerous. Iran says its nuclear program is peaceful, but Israel and the U.S. fear that a nuclear-armed Iran would permanently change the balance of power. Israel believes that a state which openly calls for its elimination cannot be allowed nuclear weapons. The concern is not just a nuclear strike, but that Iran could shield its proxy groups under a nuclear umbrella, making them untouchable and more aggressive. This could also trigger a nuclear arms race across the Middle East. What exists today is not peace, but a shadow war. Cyber attacks, airstrikes in Syria, assassinations of scientists, drone attacks, and proxy clashes happen constantly, often without official acknowledgement. Both sides avoid direct war because the consequences would be catastrophic for the entire region. At its core, this conflict is not only about religion, oil, or politics. It is about power and the future of the Middle East. Iran seeks regional influence without American permission. Israel seeks survival without existential threats. The United States seeks stability without losing control. That is why Iran remains a central concern, not for what it has done, but for what it could enable if left unchecked.